What exactly are you doing here?
I'm here on a photography assignment. I didn't just come here to take pictures.
A photographer named Samuel roams around on a small island off the west coast collecting shots when the film opens. We discovered that the majority of the subjects he photographs are dozing off in strange situations. As it happens, the island is currently experiencing an odd situation. People began dozing off unexpectedly 3 days ago during vehicle rides, sauna visits, and even while awake, person drowned while swimming underwater. The onlookers were initially just perplexed, but they soon discovered that those who slept would not awaken, almost as if they were in a state of coma. The island has seen a number of medical professionals and researchers throughout the last 72 hours, but nobody has discovered a treatment for the unusual pandemic. All of the island's year-round residents are now sound sleeping, the fortunate people in their homes. Their bodies are in good working order, whether they are at work, in the grocery store, or in their cars. But if they are transported from their original location, they fall asleep. Their heart rate increases abnormally. It's fascinating that the phenomenon has no effect on people who had not lived on the island for a long time before it happened. Because of this, scientists have built a camp and equip every sleeping person on the island with a tag so they can be monitored. No reporters are permitted at this time, although Samuel has found a way to smuggle himself across the border into the contaminated area. He enters a bus with sleeping passengers in the thick of the mayhem while on the trip to shoot pictures. In the strange situation, Samuel, he finds a woman carrying a live goldfish and decides to take it with him. Feels that the fish is his only friend, thus he communicates with it as such. They eventually arrive at a home that appears nice enough to stay in for a few days. When Samuel enters cautiously, he discovers a woman asleep on her bed. Stella was one of the fortunate last to nod off, and her name is. Samuel stays in the other room to respect her privacy rather than approaching her. Realizing the researchers were outside his house, watching over the neighborhood, he is concerned that if he is discovered the following day, he would be punished because everyone who is conscious has been requested to leave the island. Although Stella seldom notices him, Samuel daydreams about running into her at the grocery store. Not even in his dreams, I see. She asks him how he knows it when he calls her by her name, unexpectedly waking him asleep. Samuel talks to Stella while she sleeps and listens to the news as a new day brings about a new experience. The pandemic has everyone talking, and weird controversies are starting to roll in and laugh at them. Choosing Samuel to take a daytime tour of the island, he initially spots a comfortably sleeping handyman who is fastened to a tree. Additionally, he learns that the island's animals are still alive and wonders who is looking after them. A big number of individuals are unconscious when Samuel arrives at the church after nearly an hour of wandering. After shooting a few shots and settling into a pew, Samuel nods off. He and Stella are seated across from one another in a restaurant in his dream. They converse about Samuel's activities on the island while acting as though they had known one another for ages. Stella objects that he is exploiting the circumstance for financial gain, but Samuel insists that he is, not for the money, but for the experience. The money might come later, but not now. Later, he digs through Stella's possessions when he gets home to uncover her daily notebook. His bond with Stella deepens as he reads it, and he continues to have dreams about her. She admits that she was among the final people hit. She first noticed her piano teacher passing out in the middle of a lesson after being asked if she was terrified. Stella responds, "I was more confused." When the doctors and researchers arrive, they only learn that the patients shouldn't be taken from the locations where they fell asleep. It amuses Stella that there is a danger that if she gets out of bed, her heart will break. According to Samuel, if she does that, his dick might also blow up. Samuel then uses the chance to inquire about her feelings. Stella says it had a strange feeling when she fell asleep. She experienced weird, vivid dreams and finally became engrossed in them. Unable to see that she was entering a deep sleep, the scene then shifts to the following morning, and Samuel embarks on yet another journey. This time, he visits a different neighborhood, and while attempting to take a photo of it, discovers a car loaded with balloons. He observes the neighboring healthcare professionals hurrying back home. The occurrence recalls Samuel till he decides to leave the island after adjusting to reality. After taking a sufficient number of photos, he bids Stella Pax farewell, gathers his luggage, and makes his way to the coast where his boat sits. But after spending a considerable amount of time at the shore admiring the boat, he changes his mind when he gets home and notices the tap is running. Although Samuel recalls that it had been running when he had first arrived home, he is certain that he had shut it off. He's suddenly transported back to this fantasy and is seated across from Stella in the restaurant. She wants to know why he came to the island in the first place. He arrived. I'm here for her. It turns out that he was vacationing on the island a year ago. He later followed Stella to a restaurant after spotting her there because she appeared to be young and attractive. He was interested because it was free, but the evening ended before he could ask for her phone number, and he was was never able to meet her again. Back in the real world, Samuel goes grocery shopping, but two researchers also enter the store to purchase alcohol. Samuel runs into one of them, but after they go, he hides by acting like he is unconscious. Before bringing the goods home, he happily goes shopping for the necessities and even pays the cashier, who is sound asleep. Then comes he may be seen wandering about Stella's home, taking in her possessions and thinking what kind of person she might be. When he discovers a tape recorder in the attic that includes recordings of the list of her favorite items, he strikes gold. Random items like the sound of a typewriter, headless Barbie dolls, and flamingo pool toys are included in the list, but Samuel's obsession intensifies as he continues to listen to it. She may be on the list, but based just on that recording, she is a pure sociopath. Stella says that driving on the beach is one of her favorite activities, so Samuel imagines him and Stella going vehicle shopping together outside. He fears being accused of stealing from, however. Stella persuades him that they are merely borrowing it from some sleeping individuals. They quickly settle on a vehicle they want. Then they break into the owner's home to retrieve the keys. Samuel begins to believe Stella is a criminal because he likes her independent spirit. She is more than just a fantasy in his mind. Later, when he wakes up, he hears a car outside and sees two medical professionals entering the home for a weekly checkup. Just before being discovered, he quickly gathers all of his possessions and hides in a closet. Before leaving, the employees examine Stella for any anomalies. Soon after, Samuel remains by Stella's bed for the remainder of the day and speaking with her. He enters the attic once more the following day and plays the second segment of her tape. This time, she discusses the things she despises and admits that she feels vulnerable and alone. Because Samuel feels helpless once more and wishes he could do anything to make her feel better, he drifts into his imagination and begins conversing with her. The pair discuss soulmates and how each person has one. Samuel offers. Stella doesn't think they are each other's soul match despite the possibility. Samuel returns to reality and makes the decision to return home. Now that he is without a reason for visiting the island, he gets halfway to the pier but finds it difficult to leave Stella at night. He goes back home and gets high off of her stash while thinking about how they will start smoking together that same day. He makes it his goal to engage in every activity on Stella's list of her favorite pastimes. For the same reason that he prepares lasagna, he also serves himself beer in a wine glass. Stella shows up in his dreams, enraged by his failure to leave her alone. She claims that she is not the Stella he is familiar with from her notebooks and tapes. Samuel acknowledges that she is ultimately correct. Despite the fact that he has never spoken to her in person, he tries to convince himself, but it's all in his head. It was not a mistake to travel to the island. The next scene shows Stella asking him to leave her alone before vanishing into the night. Samuel makes the decision to depart once more, but his voyage this time is different. While traveling, he experiences odd hallucinations and acute thirst. Thirst is the slaker. In an effort to stay awake, he breaks into an apartment, but the more he drinks, the more thirsty he becomes. The more the walls start closing in on him, filling him with anxiety. As he makes every effort to stay awake, an imaginary Stella calls him back home, abruptly awakens, and rushes back to her home, saying that if falling asleep is inevitable, he would prefer to sleep. The following morning, she was close to Samuel's. Totally unprepared, he awakens. He's not sure how long he can stay up though, to take advantage of the current opportunity. In case Stella ever reads them, he keeps notes for her. He needs the entire day, and when it's through, he too passes out. Time goes by. Stella starts to wiggle when she sleeps a few days later. The situation changes. She realizes she has no energy when she wakes her eyes wide after sleeping for more than a week and proceeds to drink water from the tap. This is when she sees a second toothbrush on the counter and assumes she has been sharing a home with someone else. Stella is hesitantly walking up to a dozing Samuel in the living room, more perplexed than afraid. She attempts to wake him up, but eventually gives up. There are many random items throughout the home. She enjoys a gigantic flamingo floaty and a Barbie doll without a head. Stella is pleasantly thrilled to see them, but her joy quickly fades when she learns the truth. In a moment of fury, Samuel reads her journals and listens to her teaching assistants. She discovers after hitting him multiple times the notes he included there for her. He tells her that he's sorry for listening to her cassettes and that she's okay. Similar to everyone else, he reassures her that it's alright to feel alone and to develop a defense mechanism, but he urges her to be authentic. Stella is overwhelmed by the notes and realizes that the stranger in her home knows every last detail about her, just as she does. Forever, she has multiple dreams with Samuel in them during the following few days, as he did with her in his fantasies. They talk about his likes, dislikes, anxieties, and obligations, despite the fact that they have never even physically met. Stella is aware of their relationship. Like a result, she looks after him just like he did for her. After that, Stella wakes up later than usual in the morning. To one's happy surprise, Samuel doesn't stay on the couch longer. He was sleeping on one of the two when they first met in the kitchen. But to them, it seems like a reunion of lovers. Samuel shakes her hand and introduces himself after many years. I'm glad to hear that she enjoyed meeting him just as much. The bus where it all began is returned again in the concluding scene. When the woman whose goldfish Samuel had taken awakes, we notice that she now holds two fish in her hand. hands. Except for a few people in London, this movie was delivered to you through chloroform. For more content like this, subscribe to support the channel, enable alerts, and leave a like. Thank you for watching.